and welcome. It's Chris from Christopher Hall Training, and welcome to this whiteboard where I'm going to be talking you through the back-breaking realities of sit-ups and crunches. Now, I don't say this as a soundbite. I say this through experience, and I say this through personal experience and professional experience. Back in the late 90s, I was suffering with a lot of back pain, and I've also been a trainer since 2008, and in my quest to overcome my low back pain, I obviously started learning about it, how to build core strength, how to build core stability, so on and so forth. As a trainer, I've also understood how to do it for other people. And one of the big reasons is minimizing risk, and sit-ups and crunches are contributing to promoting the risk of, first of all, a back problem or a back disorder or back injury, whatever you'd like to call it, but also a weakened core as well. So if you want to come from it from a core perspective, you're better off not doing them. If you want to come from a lower back perspective, you're also better off not doing them. So what we're going to be talking you through is essentially three things. So the aim of this whiteboard is to give you a better understanding of core training, because core training or training that involves sit-ups and crunches isn't core training. I know a lot of people go to the gym and do them. I've travelled the UK when I was teaching, and I would work in a variety of gyms all over the UK, and most of the members in there were doing sit-ups and crunches. Most of the PTs in there were teaching sit-ups and crunches, and also the students that I was teaching, the personal trainers that were on the course, they would always question me as to why shouldn't we be doing them and what should we be doing in their place. And in a sense, that's what I'm going to be sort of talking you through today. I'm only going to be giving you a small snippet of it, because that would be a much larger presentation or tutorial that I would have to put forward. So I'm just taking one part and sharing that with you. So the three objectives, the one part that I will be sharing with you, which is again sort of a reason not to do them, which is the compressive force of sit-ups and crunches on the spine. Then we're going to be talking about exercises to remove from your workout, and then some exercises to include within your workout in their place. Now, before we get into that, I just want to do some quick business, as I call it, and that is just to mention my social media channels, which is at Christopher Hall on Twitter, Christopher Hall Training on Facebook, and Christopher Hall on Instagram. So if you want to come along there, please do like and follow. I'm sharing more information like this on those platforms, so it'd be great to have you there. Alternatively, you can come to the website, christopherhalltraining.com. If you go to the link here or the link that's in the description, you'll be able to find out more about my core strength and stability online program, which is more than just a workout. It's a 12-week workout, but it's also workshops and tutorials that are teaching you the underpinning knowledge, if you will, around what you're doing and why you're doing it. Also, we teach you how to do exercises correctly, so they do minimize risk of injury to the spine and also maximize the fitness that you can get from the program. So again, if you'd like to come there, please do. It'd be great to have you there. It'd be great to have you as an online client as a part of the program. Obviously, you can contact me through the program, and I'll be able to give you any advice and tips and things that you might need along the way on that journey. So yes, back to today's whiteboard, where we are talking about the back-breaking realities of sit-ups and crunches. So on slide 1, what we've got is a little piece of, or a little snippet of information from the University of Waterloo's website, where they did an interview with Dr. Stuart McGill, who's a professor of spine biomechanics, and in some respects he's been my mentor for the last, since probably 2008, 2009. And I've been able to read all of his books. I've been able to interview him 3 times, and I know the information that he is sharing is valuable, because not only have I learned it, but I've also applied it, and I've also applied it to myself and the people that I'm working with, and I've seen the results that it can get. So this isn't just me sharing some science with you. It's sharing some underpinning knowledge of how to go about building a stronger back and a stronger core, if you will. So What it says is crunches and traditional sit-ups place 3,300 newtons, the equivalent of 340 kilos of compressive force on the spine when bent in flexion. So that means as you're coming up in a sit-up, if you will. These forces can squeeze a bent disc nucleus to the point that it bulges, pressing on nerves and causing back pain, and potentially leading to a herniated disc. So what we're talking about there, it is not a direct cause. It is not the only contributing factor to a bulge and a disc. But if you're going in and doing 3 sets of 20 sit-ups, that's 60 sit-ups, 3 times a week, that's 180 a week. That's going to add up in a month, and that's going to add up in a year. All of that is going to contribute towards what you can see in this graph here, which is failure. So you've got the sit-up that you're constantly doing. So you're doing that 180 times a week, possibly more. If you're adding in twists, back extensions, sit-ups and crunches and all their different variations. So it's potentially going to be a lot more than that. And what you have to start with when you start doing them is you have a failure tolerance, you have a margin of safety, but then over time, that margin of safety and that failure tolerance becomes less. And then what happens is the back fails and you get your back pain. So what we have to understand is that back pain didn't happen in that moment. It happened in the time leading up to it. And that's not just the immediate workout that you were doing at the time, or you were lifting a box from the floor, or whatever it might be. It was the weeks, the months, and potentially the years leading up to that, which is reducing your margin of error, which is reducing your failure tolerance, which is then bringing you towards this failure. So that's the first thing we have to understand, is that these sit-ups and crunches are putting a compressive force on the spine. What we then have to understand is the exercises that we got to be thinking about removing. And why are we removing them? Well, we've talked about the compressive force on the spine, which is more from a lower back pain perspective and a health of the spine perspective. But what we can now talk about is more of a core training, core musculature perspective. And he goes on to say in his low back disorder that quantitative data have confirmed that no single abdominal exercises challenges all of your core while sparing the back. So what we are doing with these types of exercises, sit-ups, crunches, leg raises and back extensions, which are 4 of the main ones to start removing, you can add any twisting exercises to that as well, is they aren't challenging all your core, they're challenging specific muscles of the core. And what that represents is, if you can imagine how the core works best, is it's greater than the sum of its parts. So we don't want to be training the core with single muscles. We want to be training the core in, let's just say, compartments or areas of the core. So we want to be thinking about exercises that can develop more than just one muscle of the core. So we've got things like planks, side planks, bird dogs, chops. You've also got a variety of exercises that you can do with kettlebells. So, and a variety of other exercise equipment as well. But it's making sure that we're using the exercises correctly, because planks, they focus on the abdominal wall, which isn't just the rectus abdominis like you would get in sit-ups and crunches. It's the rectus abdominis, it's the obliques, it's the transverse abdominis. You then can move around into the side plank. You then come in more into obliques over the abdominals, but you also get QL and the spinal erectors involved. You go around to bird dog. That's more of a stability. So you're looking at hip, shoulder and spine stability. So again, we're looking at a greater area than just one muscle. You've then got chops. So any kind of chopping exercise like you can see in this photo here. So you could be chopping a weight up, or you could be chopping a weight down. You could be chopping it straight across. But what we've got to remember here is that we've got to be chopping and rotating from the hip. As you can see here, I've got one foot pointing sideways and the rest of my body is pointing forwards. So I'm not rotating at the spine, I'm rotating at the hip. And what that's allowing to happen is, by keeping my arms as straight as possible, my core is then working all the way around that movement to hold my arms and my body in place. As my hips generate the power and start the rotation, what my core has to do is transfer that energy into the arms and into the hands so I can move the weight where I want it to go. And this is what true core training is all about. It's not about doing as many sit-ups and crunches as you can, because as we've discussed, that in a sense breaks the back and diminishes how well the core can work. Exercises like side planks, planks, bird dogs, chops, you can use stability balls, you can use kettlebells, you can use what's called vipers, you can use a variety of different exercises to be able to work your core in this way. So you are training the whole rather than the sum of its parts, the individual muscles. So what we then start talking about is training movements rather than muscles. Now, obviously in these first three exercises, they aren't particular movements, but what they are doing is they're helping you learn how to hold your core and giving you a degree of endurance to be able to do that over a period of time. When we then move into more dynamic exercises like chops and lifts and presses and pulls, we then start going into training movements and integrating our core with that movement. So our whole body becomes strong rather than just one part of it or individual muscles of the core. So when we're talking about core training, these are the type of exercises that we want to be bringing in. They will spare the spine if you do them correctly, and they will build your core, your strength, your stability, your endurance, and your ability to reduce risk of injury as well. So hopefully that's given you a better understanding of core training. Hopefully it's given you some understanding of the types of exercises that you want to include, but also the types of exercises that you want to exclude from any workouts. So the next time you go in and do quote unquote an ab workout, you'll have a much better idea of the type of exercises that are actually going to help you move forward with your fitness rather than just diminish it. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from Christopher Hall Training. I will speak to you in the next video.